Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you never have to work again. No alarm, no emails, no deadlines, no place you're supposed to be. You open your eyes, sit up, and ask yourself a simple question. What should I do today? For most people, that sounds like retirement. For your ancestors, it was Tuesday. For roughly 300,000 years, humans lived without jobs. No careers, no salaries, no performance reviews, no Monday mornings. The strange part is that they may have worked far less than you do. Today, the average person will spend around 90,000 hours of their life working. That's nearly one-third of your waking existence. But when anthropologists study hunter-gatherer societies, the closest living examples we have to how humans lived for most of history, they find something surprising. In the 1960s, anthropologist Richard Lee studied the Jew/hoansi people of southern Africa. He carefully recorded how they spent their time. The results shocked many researchers. Adults spent roughly 15 to 20 hours per week obtaining food. Not per day, per week. That's less than many people work before Wednesday afternoon. And this wasn't some isolated case. The same pattern appears among hunter-gatherers across the world. The Hadza of Tanzania, the Aché of Paraguay, the Martu of Australia, different continents, different climates, different cultures, the same basic outcome. People spent a relatively small portion of their lives securing food. The rest of the time was spent doing something modern people rarely experience: living, talking, playing, making things, telling stories, resting, simply existing. And before you assume this lifestyle was brutal, archaeology tells a different story. When scientists compare the skeletons of hunter-gatherers with those of the first farmers, the differences are startling. The farmers were often shorter, less healthy, more malnourished. Their teeth were filled with cavities. Their bones showed signs of repetitive labor. Their spines carried the marks of a lifetime of physical strain. Hunter-gatherers, by comparison, were often taller, stronger, and healthier, which raises an uncomfortable question. If life before civilization was supposedly so hard, why do the bones suggest otherwise? But the most fascinating evidence isn't found in skeletons. It's found in art. 30,000 years ago, someone entered a cave in what is now France carrying nothing but firelight. Deep inside the darkness, they painted horses, lions, and rhinoceroses with astonishing skill. Not because they were hungry, not because they were cold, not because their survival depended on it. They did it because they wanted to. Think about that. Somebody living during the Ice Age had enough free time to become an artist. In South Africa, archaeologists discovered shell beads over 100,000 years old. The shells came from a coastline more than 20 kilometers away. Someone walked the equivalent of a marathon just to collect them, then spent hours drilling tiny holes through each shell. Not for food, not for shelter, for jewelry. 40,000 years ago, someone carved a flute from the wing bone of a vulture. 5 carefully spaced finger holes? A musical instrument, which means that somewhere, thousands of years before cities existed, people were sitting around fires making music. This is the image of prehistory most people never see. Not endless suffering, not constant panic, not a desperate battle against nature every waking moment. Human beings had time, time to create, time to experiment, time to be curious. So, what would an ordinary day actually look like? You wake up near sunrise? The fire from last night still glows beneath the ashes. Someone stirs it back to life. You eat leftover food from yesterday's hunt. People talk, children play. Nobody checks the time because time isn't something that controls your day. Eventually, a small group leaves to gather plants or track animals. Others stay behind. Some repair tools, some weave baskets, some prepare hides, some do absolutely nothing urgent. If there's a hunt, it isn't a dramatic sprint. Humans evolved as endurance hunters. We don't outrun animals, we outlast them. Hour after hour, we follow. The animal overheats. We keep going. Eventually, it collapses. By afternoon, the work is often finished. And then comes the part modern people struggle to imagine. Nobody is trying to optimize themselves. Nobody is building a personal brand. Nobody is networking. Nobody is grinding. People sit together. They laugh. They tell stories. They nap. They decorate tools. They make jewelry. They watch children grow up. Anthropologists have documented hunter-gatherers spending enormous portions of their day simply socializing. Because in a world without governments, contracts, or corporations, relationships are everything. When the sun disappears, another transformation happens. The practical conversations fade, and the stories begin ancestors, spirits, heroes, monsters, the origins of the world. Around the fire, humans stop talking about survival and start talking about meaning. Some researchers believe this is where much of human culture was born. Not in cities, not in universities, but in darkness, illuminated by firelight. And then, around 10,000 years ago, everything changed. A few groups of humans began planting seeds. At first, it seemed like a brilliant idea. Food became more predictable. Populations grew. Settlements expanded. But there was a catch. The more people you could feed, the more people existed. And the more people existed, the more food you needed. Within a few generations, there was no going back. Fields needed tending, crops needed protection, harvests needed storage. Someone had to work constantly. For the first time in human history, survival became a full-time job. The archaeological record shows exactly what happened. People worked more, their health declined, their diets worsened, but populations exploded. And from those populations came cities, governments, armies, bureaucracies, taxes, professions, employers, and employees. Eventually, the modern world, the life you know today. A life so different from the one humans evolved for that it almost feels like a different species created it. You spend your days following schedules. Your ancestors followed seasons. You spend thousands of hours working for retirement. They woke up every morning with the freedom you're hoping to reach decades from now. You make art when you can find the time. They made art because they had the time. For 99% of human history, the question wasn't, what do you do for a living? It was, what do you want to do today? And for hundreds of thousands of years, that was enough.